Welcome everybody. I'm Andy Edmond of Equity Development, and we're delighted to be joined again by Bill Brown, the Chairman of RUA Life Sciences, and also by David Richmond, who is the CEO. It's been an extremely busy time for both of you gentlemen in the last 12 months, even without a pandemic to deal to. So I'm sure you're very keen to take this opportunity to talk to your shareholders and indeed other investors about what has been going on. You even ended the year with a different name to how you started off, so much to talk about. So perhaps you want to kick off, Bill, for us.
Yeah, thanks, Andy, and welcome, David, to the meeting that kind of replaces the annual general meeting of RUA Life Sciences. So looking back over the last 12 months, I mean, we had the last AGM on the 19th of August last year, and the business as it stands just now has changed dramatically from where we were even just 12 months ago. From what had been an ideas business that we've been working with partners to develop products. Our company now is a fully formed medical device business. And there were four key events that really drove that change in the company over the last 12 months. The big one was the acquisition of RUA Medical, when David sold his business RUA Medical Devices into what was the old Aortic International. And that brings revenues from third-party customers. It brings a fantastic team of people. We've now got all the regulatory and compliance systems in place to be a medical device manufacturer and to develop our own devices. And very importantly is with the investment that David, through RUA Medical Devices, have made in expanding the facilities here. We now have, all of the space and the equipment really necessary to manufacture the devices, the early ones, which will be the patches and the grafts. We've had great progress on the heart valve over the last 12 months. A lot of work was done in the design and the computational modelling of that. We trialled a manufacturing process which went fantastically well, created a lot of new IP in that area. And we're now at the stage of doing another run of the valve, and I think as Dave said, tweaking some of the parameters in that, with a view to getting hydrodynamic testing done, which hopefully will validate the computational modelling that then enables us to take the heart valve to design freeze as well. As you mentioned earlier, we've changed the name of the company. We're now the company's now RUA Life Sciences, which brings all the branding of the different parts of the group together. So we've got 4 operating businesses, from RUA Biomaterials, which licenses the elastographic material, RUA Medical Devices, which is manufacturing devices for third parties, but also for other group companies, RUA Vascular, the patches and grafts business, and RUA Structural Heart, which is pursuing the heart valve. And the biggest piece of recent development has been achieving design freeze on the large bore vascular grafts, which we announced just the other week. And that's taken us away from being a development company in that area into a commercialization business. So that's a product that has now been through the regulatory testing, having done our own bench testing, with the view of trying to get that product onto the market and commercialized in about 12 months' time. We're just under that. So it's been a really good year. It's disappointing that we haven't been able to have a sort of proper AGM where the shareholders could have the opportunity of coming to ask the board questions of the development of the company. But we have provided the facility for people to submit some questions before the AGM, and David and I are here to go through those and just discuss in a little bit more detail those. So if it's okay with you, Andy, I'll jump onto my list of very intellectual and very clever questions from the shareholders and see if David and I can give as good an answer as the questions were given. The first one that I'll touch on is it relates to the patches and grafts business, which I mentioned it briefly there. So we've been at design freeze, but can we outline what the further steps, costs, and timings are to getting regulatory approval on that? I'll pass that question to David, but I will just jump in on the cost bit. We deliberately, for commercial reasons, don't publish our expenditure plans and commitments for that. We prefer to keep that commercially confidential. But the patches and graft business is funded through existing resources through to the point of getting regulatory approval. So the cost bit is dealt with, but I'm not disclosing what it is. So it's really what the steps do we need to go through and what are the timings to get regulatory approval for the patches and grafts.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. The graft which we froze last month has been in development for a number of months, and we're now in the stage that we've gone through 2 pilot animal studies. We're currently still in the second pilot, but all progressing very well. So we designed, froze, ready to take the product to 510(k) approval in the US, and we have 5 steps in place to do that. So we've got all the regulatory requirements and the testing to do that. So that they would be ISO 7198 testing, which is mechanical testing of the vascular graft. So it's a coated vascular graft. We've coated it with Elastion on the outside of the graft and left the woven material on the inside. So it's a novel graft with the advantages of taking out animal byproducts from graft, collagen or the gelatin coated grafts that we have currently. So a big step in that point. And we have then as part of the 510(k), as I said, we have the ISO 7198, which is the mechanical testing for part. We have biocompatibility testing to do to show that our product meets expectations for that. We have sterilization validation, and on that we have the transportation study and shelf life study to go, these studies will all work concurrently alongside an animal trial, the clinical animal trial that we have in place, which will be starting in the beginning of September. And we're hoping to have everything in place for submission of 510(k) to the FDA at the beginning of April next year.
And how long is the FDA 510(k) approval process?
Yeah, once we've submitted the 510(k) submission into the FDA, they have 90 days to respond to that. But at any point they can submit questions back to us if they want further clarification on the submission, and the clock would stop at that particular point. So it's a minimum of 90 days, but we're really pushing to put a really good submission into with all the information that we require to have there on obviously the Elastion on the polyester graft. So we're well prepared with a good submission. We should get that done in 90 days.
So just sort of picking up on that, David, if this was a drug and it goes into its phase 2 or phase 3 trials, you don't really know what the outcome is going to be until that trial has concluded. With medical devices and in the 510(k) process and this type of device in itself, are there any unknowns or risks that you see from the graft as it stands just now that would stop it getting through those regulatory tests?
No, we don't, because design freezes mean that we're happy with the performance of the product. We've done our 7198 testing on the coated product and also the pilot animal, which allow us then to take it forward. So all we're doing is confirming the tests that were previously done during the development phase.
Right, so it's hopefully relatively low risk.
It's relatively low risk. We wouldn't have designed frozen unless we're really sure that we're going to move forward.
So hopefully that's answered that question on behalf of the shareholder that submitted it. There's another question that does relate to the patches and grafts as well, and it's a question that, as we take the patches and grafts forward, we have announced and said in the past that we'll be selling those devices into distribution and into OEM agreements. And the shareholder was questioning that would RUA Biomaterials continue to receive royalties or license fees on the use of Elastion in these devices or would it just all remain within RUA Vascular?
No, with the division, the RUA Biomaterials division will receive royalties from RUA Vascular on that particular area, but it also will receive some income from the sale of Elastion to RUA Vascular through our agreement with Biomerics.
So the use of Elastion for coated grafts and patches, is that something that anybody can use the Elastion for, or is it exclusive to RUA Vascular in that area?
It will be exclusive to RUA Vascular in that area. So we have a royalty license in place with RUA Biomaterials internally for that. So anything that we're putting on that, on grafts or patches or future products through other divisions, the RUA Biomaterials business will receive royalty income from that.
And then just kind of, it deals, I guess, a little bit with the patches and the grafts, but also would be related to the heart valve project. Clearly, there are big companies that operate in this industry, some of whom may in the future become partners of RUA Life Sciences. Can you let us know if there's any been early stage discussions about the development process, the testing or validation that we'd have to undertake, and the processes that we're going through? Would they be of the standard that would be anticipated by one of these large companies? Yeah, no,
with reference to the test houses that we're using for the vascular products and also for the heart valve products are well recognized by the large medical device companies in the heart valve space or in the graft space that have use for these products. So by having the quality of these test houses that we're using and being pointed towards by following discussions that we've had with a number of the businesses out there, future partners, I would like to say, that it was all part of this 510(k) application, all good quality data from good test houses. So our future partners will be able to recognise that the testing has been rigorously done and adhered to.
Right. So moving on to the heart valve, it's clearly at an earlier stage than patches and grafts. But can you just give us an idea of what steps and the timing wise of taking the heart valve to design freeze?
Yeah, we're running on our second iteration of testing in the new process that we have in place for making the heart valve, which basically allows us to design heart valves and manufacture what's designed rather than what the process gives. Allows us to manufacture the leaflets. So that's gone very well. We're at the stage we're in a second iteration of that. We will then take that forward to testing and then move towards design freeze once we've got the process finally bottomed out and agreed.
So that testing confirms what the computational modelling showed, that's effectively design freeze?
Yes, the computation one, the flow dynamics that we've wanted to design into the valve, so we're just confirming all those the theories that we've put in place for our design flow and the strengths and all that sort of thing. So yes.
Right, so that could be in the relatively short term.
Yeah,
if that goes to plan. And the final question really relates to the RUA Medical Devices business. Clearly suffered from the COVID-19 close down on elective surgeries, but we announced earlier today the current status on that. But can you give us a feel for what the impact has been on our revenues this year, and what the impact has been on the business in a wider sense?
Yeah, I mean, the business that we've had existing when RUA Medical was acquired by the group is that we see in March, April and May there'll be a shortfall of around about £300,000 in our turnover for the year, for the year coming. But we've managed to put in place, we have had a grant from the Scottish Government of 150,000. We've We've had some 11 employees on furlough, which we've managed to control the costs and just general controlling of costs within the business. So it has been reasonably well mitigated. The products that we manufacture are used in elective surgery. So elective surgery in the US, where our main export is to European is a small part of that, but the main thing is in the US. And the surgery has come back on at least up to 90% of where we were pre-pandemic of the COVID pandemic. And so it's looking much better as we move forward. We're bringing our furloughed staff back in part-time basis, moving back towards full manufacture in the near future.
And just for the benefit of some shareholders that don't necessarily understand what's meant by elective surgery,
yes,
just explain that to the investors.
You have elective surgery, and then you have the necessary surgery. So if you have something specifically wrong with it, needs addressed straight away, that's the normal surgery. Elective surgery is where it's not a hugely important operation that's required, but is needing to be done, and where the surgeon and the patient agree the time to get that done. So as prioritizing the hospital time, necessary operations are being performed instead of the other one.
So emergency surgery would be
Emergency surgery.
a patient that presents at A&E or whatever.
Yeah, presents at A&E
has to be operated on that day.
Yes.
The elective surgery could be from somebody wanting cosmetic surgery at one end of the scale, which could always be optional, through to somebody who wants a heart valve replaced or needs a heart valve replaced. That would still be elective surgery because it's been planned. So it's bringing that back. And do you have a feel for the elective surgery that has been missed? Do you think that will come back and there'll be a catch up in due course, or will that be gone forever?
No, I think there will be a catch up in that scenario. There are these operations are being delayed, so people do require to have them and do want to have them. So it's just a matter of getting it back in around the COVID emergency operations or the lack of capacity due to COVID. So it's we can see it's a good move towards getting back to where we were pre-COVID in the US, and Europe is following along behind, but not quite at the same pace as the US.
So that's me exhausted the questions from the shareholders, Andy. If anybody has got any other questions that they would like addressed, they would just drop an email through to David or I, and we'll try our best to inform the shareholders as they expect to be.
Yeah, well, thank you both very much. That was very, very informative. And I think I better say on behalf of the shareholders, because they're not there to do it, thank you both for a tremendous amount of hard work in the last 12 months. A lot of progress, but it doesn't happen by itself. And I would say to shareholders, or indeed other investors who are watching this, if you want to get a perspective from an analytical point of view about where RUA Life Sciences is going to, why it's making headway in both development and commercialization of its products, then a number of equity development reports from this year are available on the RUA Life website and also on our own website, www.equitydevelopment.co.uk. And by the sounds of it, there are going to be a lot more notes in the future. It looks an exciting outlook for you. Thank you again for your time, and we wish you more continued good luck in what you're achieving.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Andy.